perceived as bad organizers. There's a big disorder in Spain, and also that there's much worklessness and also much separatism. Well, when it comes to disorder, it's there is order and there is energy, organizational energy in Spain, but this order is sometimes very hard to see for a foreigner. I have came across, and many of my acquaintances, and also I have also read about those situations in books. The situation I now mean is the situation in which there's, for instance, a cargo, and there's, for instance, a van that tries to go with some groceries, for instance, through the street, and there's a restaurant, and this restaurant's chairs and tables are also put on the street, so the van cannot go through. But the clients and the waiters of the restaurants are all trying to help, and they very swiftly, very fast, getting all those chairs and tables of the way, so that the van could pass. So this is the order and disorder in the same time. They have much energy, but they like produce the small bursts of that energy when it's needed. They don't want to think ahead. They want to react to the problems. For instance, very Spanish in this aspect is, for instance, Merkel and her Eurozone policy and her immigration policy. It's very Spanish. Only react, not thinking ahead, not trying to foresee what the future will bring. It's very Spanish. Maybe it's because of this mañana. Okay. Separatism and worklessness. Worklessness, there is a huge problem in Spain today. It's sometimes it's like estimated for as 20%, but sometimes even bigger, because there's some hidden worklessness. This is a problem also with hidden worklessness, and but the problem is smaller than we could imagine, because the family bonds in Spain are pretty strong, which is rare among Western European nations. Although the religious bonds are getting weaker and weaker, but those family bonds, the blood bonds, they are still very strong. And Spain also, Spaniards have relatively the biggest apartments, the inhabited, the quadrat meters of their, they have the biggest number of quadrat meters of all the apartments in the European Union. Only Americans, when we are looking for some nation that have bigger apartments, it's very hard. The Americans have bigger apartments, but when in Europe, when we look at Europe, the Spaniards have biggest apartments. So they have relatively big life space, and so they can, when Jose and his girlfriend have no money and no stable work, and so on, they can always be invited back to the abode of the parents or the parents-in-law, and there's no problem, no real problem, not such a big problem we could imagine it would be. Okay, so maybe there's a little bit less incitement also to look for the work constantly. They sometimes try, okay, I have no work, and okay, the family will support me. This attitude is perhaps more often than in other Western European nations. Okay, separatism, it concerns mainly 3 regions. It is a problem indeed, because Spain is a unitary state. There is no legal support for any separatism whatsoever, and it never was so. So the Spain always, for instance, there's a huge contrast to Great Britain, in which the Scots have fought for some autonomy, and they have some legal something to support those claims for more autonomy. But in Spain there's no legal thing whatsoever to support those claims. They Spain have thinking practically has